Hi, welcome to Rein It In. I'm Rachel.
I'm Matt, and this time we're talking about Huntsville, Alabama, and some space tourism.
Huntsville, Alabama, space tourism. Actually, all kinds of things from the air. Unclaimed baggage.
Yeah. Ducks.
Ducks.
I don't know if we'll talk about the ducks.
We will now. And, and space.
So if this is your first time listening to our podcast, we're sort of just two married nerds that have been living in the South for 10 years now somehow.
Yep.
We live in Atlanta. And, normally in pre-COVID times, we spent more time. We had gone to Japan. We spent some time in the UK and Wales. Well, Wales is in the UK.
Yep.
London and Wales. And we originally started this podcast as just a good way to sort of discuss our, basically record our travels and speak to our family and friends while we were going, but we've decided to just kind of keep it up. We're in season 3 here.
Season 3, yep.
Yeah.
So thank you if you're listening. This time, as Matt said, we've been here in the South for 10 years, pretty much officially as of the last couple weeks. We've been in our house for 10 years. It's all very crazy.
Yeah. That time flies.
Yeah. Other than that, everything's totally normal.
Well, except for the pandemic.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So we've done a lot of stuff around the South in the 10 years that we've been here. And, some of you might have listened to our road trip one where we hit a bunch of places kind of in the more southeast as opposed to sort of deep south, and kind of making a distinction between those two there that is...
Yeah. I think legitimate.
Yeah.
Because we were in Appalachia. We were in sort of the southern Midwest.
Yeah, and Virginia and stuff. So, but anyway, this time we went to Huntsville, which is a little bit more deep southy.
Yeah, and I've been wanting to go for some time. We've have a couple friends, a former coworker that we also had spent some time with at DragonCon a few years back. We got DragonCon coming up very soon. And but of course there's the U.S. Space and Rocket Center. And so, many men, boys of a certain age, or probably most ages, have always been pretty fascinated with space, grew up on Star Wars, a little bit of Star Trek, and, Huntsville, this massive rocket center, part of Redstone Arsenal, right?
Yeah. I learned all kinds of different things that I didn't know. Because I don't know all that much about space. Because I did not grow up on Star Wars and so on.
Yeah. So thank you for going with. But so for sort of an extended birthday weekend, we got out of town, and I just thought it'd be nice to check it out. And get to see our friends. And Huntsville's an interesting place, though. I think
it was nice. I mean, I'm definitely happy we went. It was a good sized town. Pretty easy to get around. Everything felt really close together. We did drive between quite a few different places, but the drives were all short for sure.
Yeah, which is funny because we would literally drive across the city in 10 or 12 minutes, whereas in Atlanta, might take you 10 or 12 minutes to get to the next neighborhood because you're stopping at lights and taking streets and traffic. And so that was pretty nice. It's also pretty wide open.
Yeah.
What was your biggest surprise about Huntsville in general?
I guess Egg Beater Jesus was a surprise.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody expects an Egg Beater Jesus. We'll post a picture of that to the Instagram. Anyway, it's just a church that has a really, particularly egg beatery floating Jesus.
Yeah, it's a pretty fantastic church. It's they sort of like arches in Huntsville.
It's very space age feeling too, because it's kind of got this big tower on the side. So
it's a big mosaic.
It feels built in the 50s or something, right? I mean, it's got that kind of feel to it, 50s or 60s.
But his legs are sort of look like a whisk.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but we've got that, and we posted a bunch of pictures from that. And actually, also, if you are a first time or early listener here, you can check us out on Instagram. We are @RainItIn_podcast.
Podcast.
_podcast. And we are also on Facebook. Pretty much post the same things. A little bit more on Instagram, maybe. And you obviously found us somewhere, but if you wanted to go ahead and subscribe and like, we'd appreciate it.
Yep.
Helps us out. And but yeah, so we've got some pictures from the trip there, but we'll post some highlights as well. I think my biggest surprise was like that it seems there's a lot of stuff happening in Huntsville, and at the same time it closes really early.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. We went to some breweries, which was fun. There's like this really cool, it used to be a high school, and they've like turned it into a bunch of shops, and there are multiple breweries there in that area.
We should have looked up the name of that complex or whatever.
But we know the names of the breweries that are there. So we went to two different breweries. One was Straight to Ale, and the other one was Yellowhammer.
Both solid beer.
Yeah, really good.
And our friends took us around. That was super nice. We got together, met sort of in the, it's not Central Park, but sort of the big park there, and
where the
did
art
some
museum
food
is.
truck for dinner, and then they took us around. We went to a couple breweries to try a bunch of flights at places, and then we rounded up that evening with
back downtown.
Back downtown at Green Bus.
Green Bus.
Green
Yeah.
Bus. Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, it was really. But Green Bus was closing down almost when we got there. I mean, the guy was like, "Oh, I'm not going to kick you out."
Right, and that was at 11.
Yeah.
So that's on a
11
Friday downtown.
Yeah.
But when we were doing research to go out to Huntsville, we were just like, whoa, there's all this stuff happening. And I think part of it is the Huntsville Tourism Board, or especially like the Downtown Huntsville Tourism Board, does a bang-up job. They've got a really informative site, and they've got a lot of stuff going on. They advertise it pretty well. But we were also like on Saturday night after we went out to dinner, we'll get to that in a minute, but we were walking around at, the restaurant we went to closed at 9 on a Saturday, and it was hopping. They could have easily said another whatever they call it.
Yeah, another seating.
Yeah.
Sat a seating. They could have sat a seating.
But yeah, so we started out though the trip, right? We left Atlanta, had Friday off, and kind of took our time getting out of town. And Rachel found a place for us to stop for lunch, which we stopped purely based on the name.
Yep, Sloppy Floyd State Park.
Yep.
It's still a Georgia state park, but it's right kind of on the Georgia-Alabama border. Yeah, it was. I mean, yes, we did stop there just because it was Sloppy Floyd.
Well, it was also about halfway, so it was convenient. We had a little picnic. What's the actual park? I mean, on the map it says Sloppy Floyd State Park, right? But like all the signage was like James Floyd
State Park. Yeah.
The road was Sloppy Floyd.
Yeah. So I mean, you could certainly find it. I mean, I didn't look up who he is, but it's in like Floyd County and everything. So
Did you look?
There must have been some sort of. I don't know. He must have been some sort of big deal. Hopefully he wasn't a terrible racist.
Right. Well,
but
I ended up looking at I put it in Google after we got back, and there's like crazy caves and stuff there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like we missed a bet of not checking things out. I mean, we really just wanted a quick stop. So we just had a picnic and we pulled off the road, and
we were like the only people there.
Table.
I mean, there was one other person there who was using the restroom.
Oh, right, yeah.
But like, there was a reasonably large size parking lot, and we were the only people in it.
Yeah. We saw someone on the other side walking around later, but for the most part, it was pretty dead.
Yeah.
Friday afternoon.
I know, Friday afternoon, but like, still, I was a little bit surprised because there is like a camping area and stuff nearby.
Yeah.
It's not.
Right.
It's not like day use only. So
maybe that's worth going back there for camping too, I suppose. Although it's on the way, or you already passed by Red Mountain.
I think it's Red Mountain. We're gonna try camping at Red Mountain State Park eventually,
yeah.
Or at least going in there at some point.
And it was at Sloppy Floyd State Park that we came across the very friendly ducks.
Right, the first ducks of the trip.
Do we have other ducks too?
The baby ducks. Remember?
Oh, the baby ducks! I forgot about the baby ducks.
Anyway. Yes, we have a video of the ducks being ducky that we will also post. Anyway, yeah, it was just us and a couple ducks. That was it. Some spiders.
I do not like spiders, but yeah, it was a nice little stop. And then we trucked on, and outside of Huntsville is another town called, I always get their name wrong.
Give me a couple tries.
It's not Scottsboro.
It is Scottsboro.
Oh, it's Scottsboro. Okay. Because like I'm always getting
you keep
confused
calling it
with
Roswell, which I think is really funny because
Yeah.
it's nothing like they share hardly any letters.
No, I think what it is it's like, what is it, Scottsboro?
Uh-huh.
I like mentally I'm getting it connected in my head with, is it Scottsdale, which is in outside Phoenix, or like a suburb there. So I'm like connecting it to an Arizona town, and then I know Roswell is New Mexico. I know.
You think of Roswell, New Mexico.
I'm not saying it's rational. I'm just saying that's kind of where it's coming from.
Okay.
But we stopped there, partially continuing from the road trip. We were trying to hit random roadside attractions during our road trip, so we thought, well, hell, this is just a mini road trip.
Yep.
It's about 3 hours and 20 minutes or so from Atlanta. Huntsville is.
Yeah.
And so we stopped at the unclaimed baggage store, which was
Unclaimed baggage center, maybe is what
maybe
it's called.
center.
But
Yeah.
anyway, they get people who don't pick things up from their luggage. Luggage gets lost. They never come and get it. A lot of people must do this because there was a lot of stuff.
Yeah, there were like 2 or 3 other stores in
Yeah.
the same town. So I also don't know why that is the mecca for these.
No, me neither.
Yeah.
Because it's not like a major airport hub, obviously, or anything.
Yeah.
But
Maybe they fall from space.
maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, so a lot of people don't pick up their luggage once it gets lost.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're all okay.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so it's nice. It's kind of like a Goodwill in some ways, although everything is pretty much. I mean, almost everything is used. There are some things that are new with tags that people like hadn't, that had just purchased or whatever, and
But they also had the unclaimed cargo that they also buy
stuff. Yeah,
and then resell.
But
most of the stuff was in good shape.
right, because unlike Goodwill, where people take their kind of old or faded or stained things, or things that just don't fit anymore, whatever. I mean, it's not that Goodwill is all terrible, but this is all stuff people packed to take on trips with them.
Yeah.
So it tends to be newer or nicer, or something that someone was planning on just kind of taking out of a suitcase and wearing. So
Yeah. I probably wouldn't go too far out of my way to go, but I'm glad we stopped. We also got to see Hoggle.
right, yeah. Hoggle was in somebody's unclaimed baggage. Hoggle from Labyrinth.
Yeah.
For those of you.
I was talking to a friend at work, and they were like, "Oh, did you see Hoggle?" And I was like, "Oh, that was Brandon, wasn't it? Or maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was someone at work." Anyway, were you part of this conversation? The way you said, "Yeah." Okay, so they knew about this, and it was like an original Hoggle that it was. I'm not verifying the story, but that it was being shipped around, and it like disappeared during the thing, and so it was claimed. It was found later, and these people bought it. So.
Yeah.
Or it was in whatever they had purchased.
Right.
So, but I don't know if like somehow related to Henson, they did a restoration of it somewhat recently.
Yeah. So it was in good shape, and it was like in the sort of lobby entryway, so you could admire it.
Yeah, we didn't find any super gems.
No, but I bought a dress
Yeah.
that is still in the wash. Actually, I haven't worn it yet, but. That I thought was like a good price for what it is. It was kind of fun to look at all the crazy jewelry that people didn't claim. I mean, there's diamonds upon diamonds, and then also just junk upon junk. A lot of scarves.
Yeah, there's a lot of phones and laptops and stuff over in that other area.
Yeah, that's not too
A
surprising.
million sets of headphones.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Not that many books. And of course, the books that were there were almost all hardbacks because that's what you put in your luggage. It's supposed to, your paperback that you take on the actual plane with you, I suppose.
But yeah, then we trekked on to Huntsville. We checked into our hotel.
Which was a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, like I want to give forgiveness for COVID times and such because the staff definitely seemed understaffed. They had really high ratings on Booking.com. We did Booking.com because we had sort of like a gift, not a gift certificate, but like an award bonus sort of like thing
left
to
over
use.
from the other road trip. I had like a credit.
And it was said it was a 9.2. I would have said it was maybe like a 6.7. Bathroom was dirty.
I gave it a 5. Yeah, when I reviewed it for them, I gave it a 5. Bathroom was definitely dirty. The plates were dirty in the cabinet.
Oh, yeah, it was like a suite.
And there was no soap. That was the biggest problem. Like, I couldn't clean things because they didn't provide us any materials which to clean things with. So, so that was disappointing. And I never actually got dish soap the entire time we were there.
No, we just put everything in the dishwasher.
Yep.
And because they did bring us some new like dishwashing soap stuff, or for a dishwasher machine stuff.
Tabs.
But, all in all, it was still a pretty good location. It was a little bit further outside of downtown than we thought, but it was a short walk.
It was walkable. Yeah, it was like 15 minutes. It was fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely, not the best hotel experience.
Yeah, if you're going to stay, there's a bunch of hotels, and they're building a bunch of hotels too, right near that sort of like Central Park area. There's a big lagoon, and the art museum is there, and there's some event centers. Like, track one of those down if you can, because everything is super close from there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We were just a little bit further out. We were right next to the hospital, and it makes sense for because it did have a kitchen and stuff, like Matt said, right? Like if you're there because someone's sick or whatever, or you're in treatment or whatever, you're going to want something like the extended stay. So
yeah. But man, what a bummer experience that would be if you were there already dealing with the stress of your family or something like that, or illness, and
and then it was also dirty. Yeah.
Yeah, but you got free breakfast, although we didn't eat their breakfast. We cooked our own.
Yeah, that's why we got their kitchen.
I know. We didn't even realize we had breakfast, but
yeah, I know. But it
works.
It was certainly not like unstayable or whatever, right? It just was disappointing.
Yeah, there's also this like Low Mill area, which is like an arts complex that is an old cotton mill, I think
Cotton, yeah.
They've turned into a bunch of artist studio space and some shops and some restaurants. We were originally going to stay over there, and our friends were like, it's the neighborhood's sort of like revitalizing a little bit, could be a little bit sketchy depending on how far you are into some of the neighborhoods. And if you're downtown, you can just walk everywhere. That's probably where you're going to spend most of your time. And I think that turned out to be a good choice.
Yeah, I think so, because we would have only been able to go to the artist lofts, and they weren't open.
No, right? They probably closed at 6 or something.
So it was definitely better being over closer to downtown. So I would certainly recommend staying downtown.
But I would also recommend checking out the Low Mill area. I wish we would have maybe had a little bit more time there. And did we go on Sunday? No, it was Saturday afternoon.
It was Saturday afternoon,
but it was like later Saturday afternoon. It was like 5 or something like that. And a lot of stuff was closed already. But there was a lot of more stuff that I think might have been open, and it was pretty vibrant. It was interesting.
Yeah, and we missed the market. I mean, because we were doing the space tourism stuff that we went there for. So I mean, I don't mind that we missed the market. But I think there is a little bit more activity, like especially Saturday during the day.
Yeah.
If you happen to be going there. I would check it out. I think their market was like 11 to 4, 11 to 5 or something.
Yeah. And there was an Artemat there, too, which was pretty fun.
Yep.
So
it was Artemat stuff.
Should we take a short break here, and then we'll come back? We'll talk about the
space.
Yeah, the Rocket Center.
Yeah.
And kind of just do a little wrap-up.
Yep. We went to Huntsville, though, primarily to go to the Space Center. What's it called?
I think it's the U.S. Space and Rocket Center.
Yeah, U.S. Space and Rocket Center. Yeah, exactly. That. So we went there primarily to do that because Matt wanted to do we've been calling it space tourism, but of course, like now that rich people actually pay to go to space tourism has a different, connotation.
Yeah, we were doing tourism around space museums.
Around the space industry, not around the actually going to space.
Yeah.
So, but they have space camp there for people who actually want to eventually go to space someday and not pay billions of dollars for it.
Yep.
And they have...
I think space camp is also, like... I think some people can go there for more serious stuff, but I think it's also just, like, kind of like... family tourism thing as well.
Oh yeah, I know, but I mean, there was definitely a bunch of like pictures and stuff of people who had graduated from space camp, who had done space camp, who went on to become astronauts, right? So, like, of course, lots and lots and lots of people who do it who never become an astronaut, but some people who do it do go on to become astronauts.
Yeah.
So.
And I'll say I didn't really know a lot about it before we went.
I knew nothing about it before we went. I didn't even know it existed until Matt told me about it. So,
but it's the Marshall Space Center, which is, I didn't really know this, and I'm sure I'm going to get this wrong. So everybody who is more into this than I am, I apologize in advance. But I think it's more, from what I understood, it's more of, well, it's the sum of the rocket research, especially around the Mercury and the Apollo missions and the Saturn sort of category of rocket that they use to lift people into space for that.
Yeah, and it's propulsion, right? Like the research seemed to be really focused around,
right?
I mean, at least the museum was really focused around, like, how are we going to get the power to get these people into space?
Yeah. So it was more the heavy lifting sort of stuff. They also, it sounds like from Marshall Space Center, they do the like the logistics and science coordination some. So it's not, they're not doing any of the launch stuff. That's all happening in like Cape Canaveral and such. Right. But they're doing the stuff to prep for all that. And then from what it sounded like, I don't know if that's all happening there or not, but as the astronauts are up there doing science experiments, they're talking to people like scientists on Earth that are walking them through that. And it sounds like at least in some of those cases that's happening from Huntsville.
So they're sending data back, which makes perfect sense, right? Like the astronauts are gathering a lot of data, but of course they are not the experts in doing things with that data for the most part, right? Like they're not all, physicists and also like biologists and also everything all together. So they're gathering all kinds of different data and sending it back to the US, and then they're distributing it out from there. Right?
Or not just the U.S., right? Because a lot of the stuff for the ISS, the International Space Station, is they're one of the coordination points for that. They had a big map that was like all the different places around the world and all the different countries that are part of it, and sort of who does what. I think that was actually for the ISS. They do I want to call it the logistics stuff. It was more about like the packaging of shit up and like getting the payloads together. But yeah, it was interesting, right? Like, we get there, and big parking lot as you'd expect. You can see the space camp section is sort of next to it. There's a giant, I'm drawing a blank on it too, but basically, that iconic orange, lifter that they put the space shuttle on, right? Like the giant fuel tank, and the solid rocket boosters that were on the side of it. And that one was more obvious a replica because it had been weathered. And there's normally a replica of a space shuttle on it too, but it was being repaired. So, yeah.
So it's less impressive. Anyway, speaking of less impressive, like, the museum was confusing.
Yeah.
It was real confusing.
Well, before we get there, though, when you pull into the parking lot, even before you get to the parking lot, you see there's these two very large rockets that are, like, on the horizon. They're above all the tall trees. And, then you pull in, and then we go into it, and confusing and confused, I would agree with.
I didn't know... There was no, like, sort of narrative flow to the first building in the museum,
which we'll kind of call the main building.
Nor was there necessarily an indication that there was an entire huge other building.
Yeah, I mean, it was on the map, but it wasn't real clear because the map was one of the worst maps I've ever seen.
It was tiny. It was really hard to read, and it was black and white.
And like not real. Well, we're both older at this point. We're getting a little bit older, so like our eyes aren't quite as good with real tiny print, but that crap was small.
It was tiny. I mean, it was just, So I didn't really, I just, was confused.
I feel like that's a solid indication of budget issues because it looked like a mediocre black and white photocopy of a probably fold out, high gloss map
Yeah.
that would have been like 18 by 24, and instead they're trying to get it squeezed into an 8.5 by 11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it just wasn't.
Yeah, and we got in. I would say we bought the tickets early, nice and efficient getting in. But once we got past getting the tickets or showing our tickets, it was
There, you just really didn't know where to go. We had a planetarium showing, so we followed the signs for the planetarium, got lost, had to turn back around and backtrack a whole bunch.
granted that was our fault. There was a sign, but there was kind of a lot of signs in that area.
Yeah, well, it also said like planetarium restrooms, so I was just like, oh, those are the restrooms for the planetarium, not the planetarium and also restrooms. Like, you know, it was just whatever. So the main building, the planetarium exhibit that we saw was about summer skies. The woman who ran it did a great job.
Yeah,
that was super fun. Then, you know, after that, we just kind of, you know, loosely wandered around the building. Again, not really knowing what order to go in. The special exhibit was about drones, and it was all very... I mean, there's a lot of military stuff in that first building. There was, like, a whole, like, future of space military seeming exhibit, and then there was, like, the drone exhibit.
Yeah, I mean, we understand that spaceflight is, like, pretty much entirely funded around the military industrial complex and war, but still, right, there's like some science that happened, but it was just it was the big major middle section was all drones. That was a special exhibit,
right?
So it could have been something else, right? It could have been something amazing. It wasn't for us. That part.
We looked at the pop culture stuff. I took a bunch of pictures of the dolls. I mean, like all the, you know, Hello Kitty doll and American
space
Girl
toys
doll.
through the ages.
So and then I was sort of like, okay, I guess we're done. But I was like, well, the map's got this outside area, so let's go look at that.
Yeah. Well, before we get that, though, we did get to walk around. There's like a full-scale semi-replica of the International Space Station. So we learned a little bit about the space station, and it's actually, and this is part of what's sort of cool, is it is sort of a working museum, because this is where, when you're there for space camp, they have people doing things inside this replica. And so it, like, explains things, and I remember you saying, I'm having trouble wrapping my head around, it doesn't matter if I'm strapped to the wall to sleep because there is no down. Right?
There's no up.
Or there's no up,
Yeah, my brain was having a real hard time with that.
But it was kind of cool to walk around and just see how the things were and how compact and...
Yeah.
But then...
that was cool. I really liked the ISS, like, replica, and just seeing how things are laid out, and like there, and then there were different sections with like a astronaut like walking you through how those things actually work on the real station, right?
Yeah.
So showing us like how she lives in her quarters, and, you know, talking through the toilet functionality and all of that sort of stuff. So,
and what was kind of interesting though is that you're walking around inside this scale replica, or not scale replica, like a true replica ish, and there's all this outside space that we, as a visitor of the museum, you can't get to, but you can see where there's harnesses and straps, and that's where they have you, if you're part of space camp, be doing the exterior walk work and things like that on the outside. But one of the things that was the time where we were already a little bit like, this layout is weird, but it was also, it just felt a little bit shabby, we were talking about.
Yeah, it did feel, I mean, I felt like the lights were never bright enough.
Yeah.
A lot of the signs were poorly lit, so also difficult to read, or sometimes just really faded. So hard to read for that reason. And yeah, just like no kind of real narrative flow. Yeah.
And so I would say at this point, like, we knew we still had the outside. There's sort of, I forget what it's called, but that's where there's either replicas or actual, well, there's the big rockets we saw, but there's some others. There's like a lander, and there's military vehicles, but some of the other sort of like supporting vehicles and other pieces to some of the space industry, and that was outside. And there's also like this weird amusement park aspect to it. There's like a little spinning high gravity, or
there's like a
G-force thing.
Yeah, there's a G-force thing, and then there's like a
like one of those giant springy chair things that you see, the tall, where you do a free fall. It's like a free fall thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and there are lots of things that you can do there that you have to get separate tickets for. Lots and lots.
Yeah, there's lots and lots of things. But I would say at that point, even I didn't feel cheated. Like I was like, oh, this was fun. I'm glad we came out. We had a nice evening the night before with our friends, and it was cool to see some of the stuff and like walk around inside the ISS. And then, we were walking. It was pretty hot because it's summer in the south. But then we found the other building.
Yeah, and so the other building definitely has a narrative flow. That's not a problem at all. Like, you know exactly where you start and where you're supposed to end up, and it's all pretty darn clear, just except for the fact that thing is a thing that exists.
Yeah.
That other building is just basically like the story of like the Saturn V rocket, right? Yeah. So, but it starts kind of, with the engineer that they
brought over from
the Nazis,
yeah.
Right? So it starts with him, and there were some cool things, like there was like rocket plans that the Army had confiscated.
For the V2 rocket.
So that was kind of interesting. So it starts there and really just goes through like the unsuccessful and successful tests, and the space race stuff, sort of tracking the progress of the Russians.
Right.
And that building was all like really well laid out and lit and logical. So like a lot of my complaints about the museum are just also that I didn't even know that was like going to be a second thing, because even on the map I thought that was just like, I thought there was just outside stuff.
Yeah, because of the poor quality of the map.
Yeah.
And I knew there was the Saturn V building, but I didn't quite, again, partially our fault for not doing enough research before we went, but also, like you said, partway through the first one, is like they really need to hire a museum designer.
Yeah.
And they obviously had for the second building was really fantastic. It had great light. The displays were all really good. Von Braun, by the way, is the father of American rocketry, brought over from Nazi Germany. But I did think it was kind of interesting that they sort of waved their hand over a little bit of that. Mm-hmm. There's a indication, they definitely say he was a Nazi scientist or a scientist working for the Nazis. They're very clear about, I think, saying that sort of thing. But it was interesting. It was also very humbling to be next to that thing.
It's
it
huge.
Was so big.
Yeah. It's the scale of it is really mind-boggling.
Yeah, and I also thought it was interesting. I didn't quite know enough about this, I suppose, is that basically they started from this first Redstone rocket, which was named after the Redstone Arsenal. This is before NASA existed or anything. It was, I forget what the old acronym was, but like the Ballistic Propulsion Lab or something like that. And but then up to the Saturn V, it was just like, and this is the one that took up the moon landing astronauts. And so they're starting with these rockets that are, I don't know how big it was, maybe 20 feet tall or something. And then they keep refining that technology, and then they're grouping them together in larger, so it's almost like if anybody's ever opened up one of those, some batteries, if you open up the battery, there's smaller batteries inside of them.
Right.
I don't know if it's the 9 volts or a bunch of AAAs, but there's some of those old ones for flashlights. It was actually just a bunch of C or D batteries wrapped up inside of another thing. But that's kind of what the rockets were too. They just have a bunch of rockets, more or less, bundled together inside larger bundles of rockets, bundled together inside other larger ones, and you end up with this 36-story tall building with 3 poor bastards strapped to the front of it.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
It's just, anyway, yeah. So that was very cool.
Yeah.
That building was much better. Unfortunately, we planned our food poorly that day. So we were pretty hungry by the time we got through that building.
I know, because we stopped. We were like, we can stop at the cafe. But we're like, oh, well, we've already spent like 2 hours or something, 2.5 hours, because we've done the hour-long IMAX planetarium thing. And we're like, we're probably not going to be here that much longer. We'll just wait. And then we ended up in this other building. And then it was like, okay, now huge. This is like, and we spent another 2 or 3 hours there.
Yeah.
So it was fun. I would recommend it. I
think it was definitely worth going. I mean, my complaints about it don't make it like not worth visiting. But you do need to maybe do a little bit more research in advance.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit like I shouldn't have to research a museum. Like the museum should just like function, and I can like go in and figure out how to interact with it. Right?
Yeah. Well, also their website is terrible. I feel like their website was updated in 1980 or 1996, maybe not. No, probably not 96, but it might have been like 2001 if we're lucky. And it just feels out of date and not very manageable. And that's the same way the first building felt.
Yeah.
The second building, awesome.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, all of it interesting information. Like, I mean, and like we said, the first building did have the ISS stuff, which was really cool.
Yeah. And I think they did a really good job of explaining how a lot of the stuff worked. I pay some attention to some of those things. I have an art degree and I work in computers, but like I am not a physicist or anything like that. But like they do a good job of explaining like why you need gyroscopes and things like that, and in a way that I think was really consumable.
Yeah. I agree.
So yeah, that was pretty much Huntsville, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, we had the world's biggest charcuterie board at
Domain South, right?
South.
Thank you very much for a birthday dinner there. Yeah, it was killer. The staff was super nice. Like our guy helped us out. He maybe overestimated how much we were going to eat, but we ended up having leftovers for breakfast.
Yeah, we took some home.
Yeah,
took some cheese and some meat with us.
Also had some really nice cocktails at Sip. Yep. Right, like we had 2 recommendations for that place. And it did not disappoint. The staff there was great.
Yeah.
Luis was the guy who was making us cocktails. He like asked us what we were into, and we described like what we'd had for dinner and stuff, and he was like, okay,
yeah,
I'm gonna give you some things.
Yeah, he made me a couple fun versions of French 75s. So yeah, I mean, it was a really fun trip. Definitely, we were talking about, as kind of our wrap up here, we were talking about like kind of if Huntsville is a place that we would go back to.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, right?
And it's not my first kind of like sort of like under 4 hour spot that I would return to.
Yeah, if you're into space, do it.
It's definitely worth going to once for sure.
Yeah.
And like if there was something cool going on, if our friends asked us out there for something specific, if there was a really cool special exhibit that was coming to the museum, I would certainly consider going back. Like,
yeah. But I think I'd probably go back to, you would probably say like Greenville.
I would like to go back to Greenville.
Knoxville I'd like to go back to, give it a little bit more time.
Yep. Yeah. And both of those are actually even shorter drives from Atlanta. Yeah.
But yeah, I'll say like a lot of awesome stuff in the South. I mean, 10 years in, you'd think we'd understand this, but it's nice that we're still finding new fun stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because all the tourism that I've done in Alabama up to this point was civil rights tourism, so this was totally different than that, right? When the stuff that I saw in Birmingham and Montgomery, and just like gives you another sort of perspective on the South.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening.
Yep. We'll be back to talk to you in the future about what was your idea. You had a good idea for what we were going to talk about.
Dang. Well, we'll probably talk about Dragon Con next.
We will talk about Dragon Con next because Dragon Con is coming up. We'll talk about what it's like to con or not
maybe
to con.
Yeah.
During a pandemic.
Yeah. I think it was like was it regrets? It was like the thing we miss most from like top 5 things we miss most from other countries or places in the US that we've been, and maybe also like top 5 things we regret not doing.
Yep. So we'll come back with that one. Yeah, we got some fun episodes planned for the next couple times. So thanks for listening.
Talk to you later. Bye. can check us out at anchor.fm/rainitin. That's spelled REINITIN, all one word, no spaces, and you can leave us a message there. You can also follow us at Instagram at rainitin_podcast or email us at rainitin@ssdpress.org, also spelled REINITIN at ssdpress.org. Thanks again to all of our friends and family for all the support and for putting up with us. Have a great day.